Our next panelist is Dr. Itai Roffman, and he is on the line already. Thank you so much for joining us today. Itai, we really appreciate you making time to come out today, even though it's not a great day. Dr. Itai is actually a little ill at the moment, so we're so appreciative of him coming out today. He is the executive director of the Jane Goodall Institute in Israel, and he's currently also a researcher and a lecturer. And also Dr. Itai has also been involved in the Mali chimpanzee cultural diversity and tribal heritage preservation, as well as being a Mali representative of the Great Ape Project. So Dr. Itai is going to share with us amazing information about some ways that chimpanzees use language and gestures, vocalizations, and this is an opportunity for you all to get involved as well. So if you are interested in getting involved, pop your hand up if there are times when you can join our interactive parts of the presentation. Pop your hands up and we'll allow you to get involved with some of the vocalizations.
So the talk for today was built a bit haphazardly because I accidentally contracted COVID, but I'm getting better after a week. So here what we can see is the topic that I wanted to talk to you about today, which is learning chimpanzee language, an important component in their cultural diversity of Homo pan troglodytes and Homo pan paniscus, sister species studies. And I conduct this research as a part of my my directing of JGI Israel, Jane Goodall Institute of Israel, at the our base camp is at the Max Stern Israel Valley College next to Nazareth. So let's try going to this. First on this, the picture here is of Fatim. Fatim is sleeping in her open woodland sanctuary that we built for her at the National Zoo in Mali, in Bamako. And initially they just had these 3 adult orphans. They had a pretty barren cage. So we completely shifted that around, and we went into a new model called a zoo to sanctuary model. And here we can see that we opened their cage to an area of open woodland that we quartered in within a big greenhouse type. Well, it's quite a rather large enclosure of natural woodland, open woodland, cliff dwelling savanna, where the chimpanzees live naturally in Mali. So we'll go to the second slide here. This is just the beginning. We are trying to publish an article now, and this is just one page from our studies. What we can see here is that this is the phylogenetics based on the Chimpanzee Human Genome Project. Now, one of my PhD advisors was Professor Maurice Goodman, and Maurice Goodman was the godfather of the Chimpanzee Genome Project. And he started that in the late 50s. And he initially began, I don't want to talk about this too much because we want to go into the chimpanzee language. But what we can see here is that with the genetic research of Professor Maurice Goodman, the late Professor Maurice Goodman, passed away in 2010, what we can see here is that he completely, with his phylogenetic study of molecular biology, he showed that based on the brain genes, the genomics of the brains of between humans, chimpanzees, orangutans, and gorillas, and based on the proteinomics, the protein building blocks that make us into who we are, humans, great apes, hominids, and the genetics, the synonymous, non-synonymous DNA and RNA and everything that has to do with our genetic heritage. He has shown, for example, that the hominoidea are the gibbons. The hominids are the orangutans, gorillas, and the chimpanzees, bonobo chimpanzees, and humans. And when you're looking into the studies that he's conducted on their full genome between chimpanzees and bonobos and humans, he has found out that they need to be included into the genus Homo. And what this suggests is, if we can look here on the side in the middle, it just says that based on functional DNA, humans and chimpanzees show they are more similar to each other than either is to great apes. That means that chimpanzees and humans are sister species, and chimpanzees and gorillas or chimpanzees and orangutans are cousin species. Now, this has a lot of implications for what I'm going to talk about in the remainder of our presentation here now. Because the fact that chimpanzees and humans are sister species, sister taxa, sister tribe, that is at the same level between a horse and a zebra, this has a lot of implications for socially, anthropologically, legally, ecologically. It has a lot of implications for what we can tell about ancient, prehistoric, pre-human heritage, cultural heritage. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So here, just to show in terms of facial expressions. So this is just parallel facial expressions between, and for this example, it's bonobo chimpanzees and humans. So here we have, it's all contextual. So this was in my PhD dissertation studies that I conducted with Kanzi and Pambanisha. Both are language competent, English speaking, through lexigram, 420 symbols that they converse, and they give testimony that's credible in a court of law. That is that both Pambanisha, who unfortunately passed away around 2012, and Kanzi, who is here in the photos here as well, they have given in our different research findings, because today our talk is about the language competency of chimpanzees and bonobos, or how we like to call them also bonobo chimpanzees. They give testimony that is credible in a court of law. That means that they talk about things that happened to them in the past. And thankfully, Pambanisha and Kanzi had the computer lexigram keyboard, very similar to what Stephen Hawking used to communicate with on computer. And they're talking about past, present, future topics. And when Pambanisha and Kanzi sat down with me on several evenings, I realized when I was included in their group through alliance building, I'll talk about alliance building when we start doing the vocalizations and the meaningful informational exchange, meaningful vocalizations and the manual gestures in a moment. I'll just give an example. Kanzi told me when he was with me in private, he said, "Hose hurt Kanzi, hose hurt Kanzi," and he showed me his hand. And I talked with my master's supervisor, Dr. Sue Savage-Rumbaugh, and she said, "Yes, this is true. Kanzi told you a trauma that he had from a nighttime visitor, a nighttime guard." And on that occasion, Kanzi was frightened by this nighttime guard when he entered his near his room accidentally. And Kanzi took a bowl of water and poured it at the guard. And the guard took a metal hose, because remember, Kanzi told me, "Hose hurt Kanzi, hose hurt Kanzi," and he showed me his hand. So the guard took a metal side of the hose, the faucet end of the hose, and he hit Kanzi on his hand with the metal side of the hose. So this was a trauma for Kanzi. So that's why we talk about, it was validated by a third party, not, that was not included in the conversation. And that's what it means, criminologically speaking, to be able to be having habeas corpus or be able to be in a court of law and to give testimony about things that have been able to happen that has validation from third parties. So anyway, what we can see here for Pan-Benicia, when for E, when we look at E, that's concentrating. So for humans, for chimpanzees, and for bonobos as well, when they write or when they do artwork or when they work with tools, they have their tongue sticking out, just like we do. If we look here at A, that's anger and intimidation, parallel facial expression, and this is all contextual. B, that's sigh. C, surprised. D, that's content and pleased. We have, for example, F. F is happy, laughing. J is mischievousness, looking at to the left. I is scared. We have crying. That's H. And they also cry with tears. We've documented that in our research. Silliness, awe, that's N. When they think about something they want to do, or if they're pensiveness, that's when they put their finger on their chin and they're thinking about what they want to do next. So that when they scratch their chin, we do that as well. So K is anticipation. That's how we used our lips too. So if we can go to the next slide. Okay, so in terms of bonobo and chimpanzee body language, here when you see on the the left-hand side, I am here in the back behind the mesh, but when Pan-Benicia is trying to explain something to Sue or to explain something to me, you can see how Pan-Benicia puts her thumb with her index finger and she pushes her hand forwards and backwards. And this signature gesture in many cultures and human cultures too means that we want to be clear about something. We want to give we want to pass a point for something important that we want to say. Here we can see Kanzi. I think a mirror was broken here in the middle, and I asked Kanzi, who broke, how did the mirror break? And he put his arms to the side and shoulders backwards. And this is the body language of, I don't know, it's not me. Here we can see at the top, when somebody's done something good, we see this with bonobos, we see it with chimpanzees, we see it with chimpanzees as well. A tap on the back is very, very common for them if we've done something good. Another example here in the middle picture on the right-hand side, Kanzi wanted to tell me something. I'm at the other side of the room. He's pointing to a photograph he wants to ask me about. So he's pointing to the photograph, looking at me, and that's how, even in human cultural terms, we're trying to explain something we want other people to see. Here at the bottom, we can see Kanzi tapping on the knee of Sue Savajrumba because she was talking with me and Kanzi did not want to disturb our conversation. So he tapped on her knee in order for her to get his attention. So as you can see with bonobo chimpanzees, informational exchange and facial expressions and body manual gestures, it's parallel. And this is just a small selection of what we have. We can go to the next slide, perhaps. Here we've got an example of Ronnie. I don't know how we're going to do in time, so you'll tell me if we have a chance to see Ronnie's video in a bit, because I'd also want to do a session with you about chimpanzee human dictionary. So if we can go, so just look here with Ronnie. This is an example. Ronnie is a chimpanzee that came from a German zoo. If I'm not mistaken, probably Frankfurt. So Ronnie was a chimpanzee who grew up in a German zoo. Now he moved to a wildlife sanctuary in England. And now the interesting thing about that was when he moved to England, the other people, for instance, when I came to visit with him to conduct my studies on chimpanzee human lexicon dictionary that we're trying to develop at JGI Israel and Roots and Shoots Mali, what we can see is when Ronnie didn't know English and I didn't know German, Ronnie has devised pantomiming in order to converse with humans. And I'll just give an example here of a part of his dictionary for signs. For example, he says, removing shirt. B is accelerate an action, do something quickly. C, lift up shirt. D, hurry up. E, expose upper arm, shoulder. F, expose lower arm. G, pull up shirt. H, remove glasses. I, wash hands. J, show teeth. K, move hair. Yes, that's L. M is remove hat. N is show armpit. O, request for grooming. P, confusion. Q, surprise. R, calling for attention. S, come here. And it goes on and on and on. And what we can see here is that Ronnie has devised what was previously thought unique to humans, which was informational exchange of pantomime, but across the years it has been discovered to take place with orangutans in Borneo and Sumatra, and with gorillas and chimpanzees in the wild. Okay, so here we can have an example of just how to develop a written language, because we've shown right now the facial expressions, which is meaningful informational exchange. We've shown manual gestures and body language. So now we'll just look for how it developed for humans and ancient prehistoric cultures, from icon to writing, or from cave art to hieroglyphics, from hieroglyphics to writing. So here is just an example. Just if you look here, it says Knaanian. Knaanian is about from 4,000, 5,000 years ago, was Proto-Knaanian. And you can see it's very similar to iconographic, hieroglyphic type icons. So here you can see this is the letter A, which is the head of an oxen. The B, which is the shape of a house. D, which is the word for fish in Hebrew. A, which is oxen in Hebrew. And then when you look at hand, the icon for hand is the letter for hand in Hebrew, and the same for arm. And this is, you can see that for the different hieroglyphics or the initial iconographic representational imagery that made up the Knaanian, Proto-Knaanian, Hebraic, and Aramaic alphabet. So now we can go on to the next slide. Now, this is a very interesting, because when I gave Pan-Benisha a freehand pen and her notebook, what she did, and this is not similar to any of her lexigram signs, but what this is similar when she did freehand writing, what Pan-Benisha did is she created icons, and in this case, they are parallel to Neolithic rock art or petroglyphs. And what this shows is that with chimpanzees and bonobos and humans, the fact that we are sister species, and we're even in all the genetic supports, the fact that we are the genus Homo, and now what we're showing for you now with the cultural diversity studies that we've conducted in the field in Mali and in other locations and sanctuaries and zoos around the world, we've shown that also psychologically they are sister species, and they deserve to be included in Homo. So here, even the Greek alphabet and the Neolithic alphabet is parallel to what Pan-Benisha has done, which just shows that the mental competencies of chimpanzees, bonobos, and humans are parallel in terms of cave art competencies. So if we can move to the next the page. So here we can see that this is an example of a study. I'll go very, very quickly on this because I don't know if we have much time left. I just want to go on to the chimpanzee language dictionary that I want to do with you. But this is just an important issue, because after Pambanisha showed that she has parallel competencies to write icons or representational, meaningful imagery in her writing, I wanted to see if this is something that we can duplicate into a standardized testing, like an IQ test. So what we can see here we can see Kanzi, and he's choosing between 3 photographs of animal, plant, or object, and he's telling me what representational cave art type depiction or iconography did he draw 3 weeks before. So if we can, this is an example of an exam that I've given Kanzi and Pambanisha in my master's studies in 2006 to 2008. So if we can go on to the next slide, we can just see a few more of these icons. And these are parallel to what one might find in the cave art, in the petroglyphs, in Libya, in Algeria, in Tassalit, and where there were giraffes prehistorically. So here we can see in red, Kanzi drew a giraffe. So this is, in terms of formative attributes, it is parallel, because you can see the shape of the long legs, the long neck, and the arch of the thorax and the stomach area is parallel to what a giraffe would look like, and cave art or rock petroglyphs depict the same. If we can go on to the next one, so this is Kanzi's and a rabbit. So Kanzi depicted 2 icons or representational imageries of rabbit. Here is the head of the rabbit on the right, which is a circle with 2 lines, very similar to a bunny type. And the other one is the formative attribute of the thigh of the rabbit and the lower leg here. So if we can go to the next, it just shows that this is not cloud reading, because both Kanzi and Pambanisha were asked 3 weeks or 4 weeks even after their drawings. They were asked to choose between 3 photographs or 4 photographs or 6 photographs. What was their original depiction that they drew? So here we can see that Kanzi drew a shark, very parallel to what we anticipate to the shark. He drew it twice. One was the back fin. Here we can see it here. It's highlighted in blue, but this is the original one below. And here Kanzi took a Sharpie, and he drew all the formative attributes of the shark. We can see it here in red. There is here in the middle the side fins and the back fin and the whole body with the long tail. So we can go now to the next. We'll try to go very quickly with these. This is scorpion. I don't even need to talk about this. 2 pincers, body and tail. Here we have Pambanisha drawing 3 leaves, exactly how petroglyphs would be depicted. We can see the triangle with a slit in the middle, 1 leaf, a circle with the line in the middle, and a third one, a triangular shape with a line in the middle. So these are, and we can go to the next one, turtle, Pambanisha's turtle. We can see the turtle, similar formative attributes of large shell, head, 4 legs, and we can see we've even colored it with in colors, and we can see that the turtle has the shell and the 4 legs in the position that it was intended to. So next next icon. Pambanisha made 2 ducks. Now, this is good that she's done it again and again, because it means this is not chance. So when we look at the duck here, we've got 2 examples of ducks. What we can see here is a silhouette. The silhouette was conducted with computer program, but it just shows that the formative attributes, or all the shapes of the body of the duck, are included within her 2 icons. The first one here is the one on the top. So we can see there's the long wing. So that's on the top left hand, and then the body below with the head on the right and the tail in the far bottom left. And then we can see the silhouette. That's a silhouette of the duck. And then we look at the bottom. That's a second duck that Pam Venetian created. And here we again see the right side. That's where the head goes. The wings at the top and at the bottom, and there's even the shape of the belly of the duck and the legs in the back. So when we put that in silhouette, we see that, again, we have identical measurements in terms of statistics. Okay, so if we go on the next, this is Pam Venetia's shark. So shark, we can see again, just like Kanzi has done, we have the formative attributes of the body of the shark. We've got the back fin, and the face. They've never met a shark physically, but they've seen him in videos. What we can, and then here examples of between Kanzi and Hebrew symbols and my symbols. So we can see that Kanzi exactly learned Hebrew symbology. The first one is symbol of prosperity. The second one is the evil eye. The third one is the hand sign, the Hamsa sign for long life and luck. So we can see that, of course, Kanzi has competency not just for cave art, but also for modern human symbolism. Okay, so if even Hebrew, and the next one just shows the first letter. This is an example here at the top. 5 or 6 months after I did these cave art or petroglyph studies with Kanzi, I came back to visit him. And I think here at the top, you can see the lexigram laminated sheet that Kanzi tore up. And with his fingernails, he scratched the Chai symbol, which is a symbol, Hebrew symbol for long life and prosperity. And this is the first, I think it's the first letter probably ever sent between a bonobo chimpanzee and a human, because this is a letter that Kanzi left for me in his room that I collected after he told me he has something for me. So this is, it has a lot of meaning. Okay, so after we've talked about that, let's go to our language session. This is just an example of what we've done in Mali Zoo with the sanctuary that we've built for Fifi, Fatim, and Samba, the 3 chimpanzees we've culturally rehabilitated at the Mali National Zoo. We've made up here, you can see cliff dwellings for them, fish ponds, fish with lilies of ponds there, and water features. And we can go to the next one. You can see also the open woodland, forest, brush, and vegetation on the next slide. And if we, and on the top here, you can see that this is very similar. On the previous slide, you can see on the top of their cliff dwelling that we've built for them with traditional Dogon type mud huts. So what we've shown here, that the chimpanzees created this ring type nest, which I also documented this for the chimpanzees, not just in the National Zoo of Mali, but also I found this ring type nest in the cliff dwellings of the chimpanzees that live in the cliff dwellings in the valleys in Western Mali, in the field where we established our field sites since 2011. And what we can see here is this. This is the inside of the open woodland, open savanna woodland cliff dwelling habitats for the bonobos, for the chimpanzees in Mali, my mistake. Next one, here we have an example of the local tribes. So the local tribes, we do a lot of peacemaking. We'll probably talk more about that towards Peace Day, but we can see the drawings of the tribal Fulani and the Maninka and the Songhai and the different villages, 33 villages in the Bozo villages. That this is an example of Kanzi. I drew a peace dove for Kanzi. This is the peace dove in the top left corner, and Kanzi drew a peace dove for me. This is the big giant purple peace dove. So it shows us that there's a lot more that we have to learn from chimpanzees and bonobos. Okay, so the next, so if I'm going, let's stop here for a moment and let's open it to the people. Anyone who wants to participate in our session that is the chimpanzee language course that we're going to start now. I hope we have a few more minutes to do this with the participants.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic, guys. So if you want to participate, maybe you're going to explain a little bit more about what we're going to do before people get a bit shy and they don't want to.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, absolutely. So what we found out in Mali is that in order to rehabilitate the chimpanzees, we have to psychologically rehabilitate them and culturally rehabilitate them, which means it's levels beyond enrichment. Because when we're talking about chimpanzees and bonobos belonging into the Homo genus, we're talking about level of Lucy, Australopithecus, Paranthropus, Homo habilis, Homo rudolfensis. And when we're talking about that, we need to understand that it takes us to Olduvai stone tool cultures. And these are the different stone tool cultures that have been discovered by Dr. Jane Goodall's major professor, Professor Louis Leakey. And so my basis for my PhD was to identify all the stone tool cultures and all the cave, we call them the cliff-dwelling, pre-human, all the different species of the hominins from Australopithecus to even up to perhaps Homo ergaster. So when we showed in our studies that they have all the suite of traits that were thought unique to early Homo, language is the most important, because with language in Roman, we must be in Rome, we must be a Roman. So in order for us to become friends, we need to build alliances with the group we want to visit. And if we want the chimpanzees to trust us, and if we want the chimpanzees to work with us in order for us to build peace together, we need to learn chimpanzee language. And from what you've seen today, chimpanzees have exhibited all the previously cave art that we thought was unique to our later Homo lineage, and now we've shown it's earlier than that. But in terms of language, so if a chimpanzee leaves or escapes their enclosure, there is no reason to harm them. What we need to do is to have the zookeepers and the zoo director learn chimpanzee language and learn chimpanzee cultural diversity. And by building alliances with the chimpanzees, perhaps where for female, it can be easier for females to be with the female chimpanzees, for human females to be with the female chimpanzees, for the male adult chimpanzees to be allianced with the male adult humans. So, so in order for us to be able to talk with them, we need to talk about good morning or how we are. So if we want to say hello to chimpanzees, just like Dr. Jane does all the time, we need to stretch out our hand very far, as far as we can from our bodies. And the side of, it goes together with good morning, how are you? That's the type of meaning that perhaps we can give this if we're talking to the chimpanzees in the morning. And I've done this in the wild too. So for instance, this is how you say the part of the good morning size is and then the how are you side, or the second level, is the higher pitch one, which is so it goes from that's how it needs to be several levels. If you want to try that, then we can go to the next words on the lexicon.
So I think some of our attendees may be looking a little shy. We haven't got anyone to participate with their hands up at the moment. So guys, please do let us know if you're going to join us in some vocalization.
I can start going through. I think I have about 10 meaningful vocalizations for chimpanzees. So we'll see what people prefer. Next one is good food. So good food is That's good food. For chimpanzees, it's very complex because every chimpanzee community has a different group identification mark for their talks, for their vocalization. So one culture of chimpanzees could have specific words for specific foods, but another one would have completely different vocalizations for other types of foods. And this is an example that happens with chimpanzees that become introduced and from foreign countries into foreign zoos. And until the chimpanzee that's a foreigner wants to include themselves in the group, they need to learn the vocalizations, the identity marks of that group in order to be included in their alliance. Okay, so good food is, and then excited. Excited is, I'm a bit sick, so I don't know if my throat will make it, but this is excited. So that's the excited one. Now, if we want to be fearful or if we want to cry, so fearful and crying, this is fearful and crying. I tried to ask chimpanzees in Mali, in the cliff dwellings, how they are at night. The problem is that they were terrified of hunters at the time when I asked them how they were. So I got a reply from one female in the open savanna valleys. And this female was around the age, probably 13, 14, 15. And what she told me was, when I asked her how she was, she said, which means she's terrified. And probably she also tried to explain to me that she was alone. And for a young female chimpanzee teenager to be on her own is very much terrifying, especially when an unknown foreign chimpanzee, who is human like me, is trying to communicate with her where she thought she was safe. Okay, the next one. Next one is happy. Happy is very similar to humans when we say ha ha ha, but for chimpanzees, happy is so that's happy. If we want to say come play, this needs to be done with tickling. So tickling is so we have to tickle ourselves in order to want to initiate play with another chimpanzee. So we have to do something like this. And we need to show our bottom teeth because we don't want them to think we're telling them something else. So now what else? If we want to say wow, something that's, very, unexpected. So chimpanzees would say, whoa, 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 whoa. So that's like wow in English. And you can see that when chimpanzees are some, I don't know, other maybe human groups or a motorcycle or something comes by and they're saying wow because they don't know what they, they were surprised by the disturbance. Annoyed and very, yes, use the handshake, wow, also, and yes, this is wow. So this, if I don't know, different cultures, different symbolism, so different hand gestures. I don't know what this means. I haven't learned American. Oh, that's American Asian language. Okay, thanks. So if I'm going on to being annoyed or deeply upset, how do we know that chimpanzees are annoyed and deeply upset? Look what they're doing. If you see a chimpanzee adult, it could be male or female, but if they have a stick in their hand and they're breaking their stick, you have a long stick, and then they break it about 5 or 6 times, that's the first sign of them being annoyed. I think you also have with humans the same thing. If somebody has a pencil and breaks it, it shows that we are annoyed. But for chimpanzees, if you don't notice that they're breaking a stick, and if you don't notice that they're kicking the ground with sand, what we have is this. This is the display part. So display part of being annoyed and deeply upset, if we don't look and we don't give attention to kicking sand or breaking branches, a long branch 6 or 7 times, this is the annoyed, deeply upset. So this is the annoyed, deeply upset. Of course, for us, it might sound bizarre, but that's once you build alliances with chimpanzees, you will learn this from them. If you have opportunity to go help sanctuaries for chimpanzees or in zoos, try to teach them chimpanzee language to teach the zookeepers. Okay, so if we want, the last one is goodbye. So for goodbye, it's like, whoo, whoo, whoo. So usually it's with waving of the hand. So it's whoo, 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 whoo. So those are basically the ones that that we can go on and on with this. But if anyone wants to participate or asks any question, I think we had another just the last slide that I just wanted to show from the presentation before I need to get off. But for anyone who wants to participate, is there anyone here? We could just see that our Roots and Shoots programs that we do in Mali with the tribal schools, where we teach them chimpanzee cultural diversity and language, and the tribal elders signed the peace accords between the chimpanzee cultures and the human tribes. So if anyone wants to participate or wants to request any of the chimpanzee language lexicon, let me know. Next slide is probably me, Mary, I think, and Jane. Yes, Dr. Jane, Mary Lewis. And the next one is all the people I have to thank. I need to thank Mary Lewis and Dr. Jane for everything, of course. And these are the other or different organizations that help make our research possible. So thank you very much.